Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, imagination. I'm Vince Kramer, your host, and welcome to the Miracle You, where you learn about the magic of living your life by finding the example in real life.
As many of you know, I had some crisis wake-ups in my lifetime leading up to me really opening my eyes to finding what was missing in my life and to understand what it was I was really here on this earth to do. Over time, I came to realize that we truly chose to be on this planet to live our lives in a way that helps increase the frequency or the vibration of the entire universe, to make a difference in people's lives, to truly leave an impact. And one of the things that I've discovered is that we have more than one purpose. We have a purpose in many different dimensions. And one of the things that I think is really important for each and every one of us to understand is the biggest purpose that we're here on this earth for is to truly raise the vibration of the universe. And to do that by living in love and finding a way to get back inside ourselves and really understand that we are this magnificent creation here to make such a difference in this world. And we can learn to love ourselves unconditionally. And stepping into that unconditional love with ourselves then gives us the opportunity to be the example for others, to help them learn to unconditionally love themselves and really make a difference and change the world. I'm with Udo Erasmus today. Udo is the co-founder of Udo's Choice supplement brand, is a pioneer of the health and wellness industry, having created flaxseed oil. He invented the methodology and machinery that created the healthy fats oils industry. Udo is an accomplished author of multiple books, including Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, that has sold over 250,000 copies worldwide. He has an extensive education in biochemistry and biology, a master's degree in counseling and psychology. Udo Erasmus, are you ready to share the miracle of you with the imagination?
I'm ready to go.
I'm so excited to have you here today. First of all, being in your 80s, I think it is something so huge for the population of the world right now that you're still following your purpose. You're still bringing the word to the world, because I know so many people that are sitting back or standing back or maybe even lying in their bed back and not living their purpose at this moment. So thank you for your example. I appreciate what you're doing in the world so much. Before we get started with some of the questions I have for you, Udo, would you share a little bit more about who you are right now and what you're doing?
Yeah, I came out of the Second World War. I was born during the Second World War in Poland when it was part of Germany. And at the end of the war, we were refugees. I was 2.5. It was winter. We were in horse-drawn hay wagons on dirt roads with no military presence. The communists were chasing us in tanks and trucks. And the Allies, the guys we think are the good guys, they were using us as target practice, shooting at us from planes. And so eventually my mother had to leave the road because it was too dangerous, and she went through the fields. She had 6 kids with her, 6 years and younger. She only had 2 hands, so she only could only take 2 kids. She had to leave 4 kids behind. And I ended up in an orphanage, and eventually her sister found out what had happened, and she found us, and we got reunited. I just remember not feeling safe pretty much all the time when I was a little kid, and not knowing what I could depend on, because every day was a different story, because everybody was in adrenaline. And And when I was 6, I heard adults argue about really trivial stuff. It always made me uncomfortable. And I thought, it was like this thought came. It was like, man, there must be a way that people can live in harmony. And this little cocky voice, my voice, 6-year-old, don't know how complicated everything is. I'm going to find out how. And that's been my driver all my life. And it was beautiful because I lost everything. Like, we lost our culture, we lost our place, we lost like everything. Money, there was nothing. So I literally started from the bottom. So for me, it kind of was like anything I did was a step up. Right? Now, I didn't think it was cool then because I was so afraid and shy and, but I look back now and say, what a gift to have my nose rubbed in what happens when we don't cultivate goodness when we can. Because if they had cultivated goodness or peace or cooperation at the end of the First World War, there would have not been a Second World War. But we drift. We tend to drift. When we have time to build, we actually drift. And drift is always downhill. And we're certainly in drift right now globally. And things are not getting better. They just seem to be getting worse and worse for most people. And so it's a huge gift to have been born in this crazy mess.
Before we go into talking about your wake-up call, because I do talk about everybody's wake-up calls on this podcast just as a way to give people hope and a way to give people the understanding they're not alone. But you said something when you were sharing there that I think is so important to get out into the world. And the fact that there's a gift in everything that happens to us. Could you give us a little bit of your philosophy around, one, understanding that where you were born, how you were born, the experience that you had was a gift, but then all the other things that have happened in your life that turned into gifts?
Well, I would say the greatest gifts I've been given in my life have been disasters. I'm sorry to break it to people, right? But honestly, our worst situations sometimes lead to the best learning. And even if I don't want to do the learning, I guess that's what makes it a disaster, is I don't want to do the learning, but the learning is forced on me. But that learning is really important. And many of my disasters were self-made. It's almost like I created my own learning situation because I needed to learn something. And I've had it in relationships, and I've had it in my understanding of God and nature and the meaning of existence. I've had disasters in all of them, and in pesticide poisoning. So I've had many disasters. Every one of them has led to something very incredible.
I think that's something that's important for all of us to really understand, that we truly are the creators of our lives. And in that, these circumstances that we create help us learn and grow. And I agree 100% with you. The biggest gifts that we get are always in those things that seem the worst for us. And we have a tendency sometimes as a population to believe we're a victim. But when you start looking from a place of, well, okay, I created this situation for a gift, for a learning, and now you step more into who you are, you step more into the amazing things that you have to offer, and you've offered so many amazing things in the world. You just mentioned pesticide poisoning, and I know that was one of your wake-up calls. Could you share a little bit about that with us? And then maybe some of the other wake-up calls you've had in your life?
Yeah. Okay. So in 1980, I got poisoned by pesticides. What happened is I got married and we had 3 kids, and my marriage broke up, and I was really upset. So I wanted to kill something. So I took a job as a pesticide sprayer, and I was super careless, super careless. I walked barefoot over lawns that I sprayed with weed killers, and the skin peeled off the bottom of my feet. And so I started wearing rubber boots. And this person I worked with, she said, "Aren't you worried you're going to get poisoned?" I said, "Nah, I'm immune." And I wasn't immune. I think we call that testosterone poisoning when it happens to young people, young men, right? Yeah, nothing can hurt me, and then they get hurt, and then something changes, right? So, and out of that came, I went to the doctor after I got poisoned. I had basically nausea, dizziness, cramps, and if I turned my head, it felt like my head turned, but my brain didn't. Now, obviously, that's not what happens when you turn. Your brain turns, but that's what it felt like. And it was really strange. And I had no energy. I was 38 years old. If I walked around a block in the city, I had to sit down and rest. So and I usually had quite a bit of energy. And went to the doctor and said, "What do you have for pesticide poisoning?" She said, "Nothing." Well, that made it clear. Bing! Oh yeah, my health is really my responsibility. And I kind of knew that, but that really, like the penny really dropped, because now here I was, left to my own devices. Lucky for me, I had the background in biochemistry and genetics, and I could read the journals. So I went into Medline and the database. They had like 16 million research studies were listed there. And I went to look at everything that had to do with health and nutrition, disease and nutrition, because the idea is your body is made out of food. It's actually food, water, and air, but I wasn't thinking water and air. So body's made out of food. So since something went wrong with my body, I need to raise my standard, because the body is always turning over. 98% of the atoms in your body today will have been removed and replaced if we meet a year from now. So 98%, and that means that if I raise my standard for food intake, within 1 year, I will have rebuilt my body, 90% of my body, 98% of my body, to a higher standard. Oh, I can do that, right? But then now I got to figure out, well, what are the pieces? And so I got into all the essential nutrients. There's 18 minerals, 13 vitamins, 9 essential amino acids, 2 essential fatty acids, 42 essential nutrients that are the essential building blocks that you have to have but can't make. So they have to come in from outside. And if you don't get enough, your health goes down. And if you don't get enough long enough, you die. So this is like really important stuff. And if you bring enough back before you die, then all of the problems that come from not getting enough are reversed, because life knows how to make the body work, provided we take responsibility here at our mouth to make sure all of the required building blocks land in the body so life can use them to do its job. And so, and then I got into oils, because oils are the most sensitive of the nutrients. They are damaged by light, by oxygen, by heat. There was so much contradictory information. It was so confusing. So I got stuck trying to figure it out, because I needed real answers. I didn't need advertising answers to make money. I needed real answers for health, right? And so, for instance, I read a study and it says omega-6 is an essential fatty acid. I just gave you the definition. Gotta have it, can't make it, die if you don't get it long enough, but recover from deficiency if you get enough. Omega-6 is an essential nutrient. So you got to have it. You got to bring it in from outside. And the very next study I read said omega-6 gives you cancer and kills you. And I'm going, wah! How can something be essential for health and then give you cancer and kill you? It was like, and it was that contradiction, and it drove me nuts, because I'm really trying to figure out, how do you work on that kind of a truth, right? What? And so that forced me to look deeper. And I started looking into how oils are made. And then, of course, how oils are used. And I found out that oils, when they're made by industry, are made for shelf life. And they're treated with harsh chemicals. And then they're bleached. And then they go rancid. And then they smell bad. And now they have to be made palatable. And to do that, they have to be heated to frying temperature. And in that course, about 1% of the molecules are damaged. And if you have a tablespoon of an oil like that is 1% damaged, guess how many damaged molecules you have in that tablespoon?
I'm gonna say 1.3 million.
1.3 million. Okay. Would you like to know the real number?
Yes.
60 quintillion.
Wow.
You said 1.3 million? So it's like billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion. So you're 12, so that's 1,000 million, billion, trillion. So you're like about 40 billion, no, 40 trillion times too low in your estimate. And I say that because if you were going to go fly somewhere for the holidays and you were about to get on the plane and somebody who only always told the truth told you, oh, by the way, did you know that your chance of crashing and dying on this flight is 40 trillion times higher than you thought it was? Would you go on an airplane? And I told him in Ireland when I was there, I said, I would canoe back to Canada. Right? And because we underestimate by that much. It's always, everybody always estimates at least 1 billion times too low. So we're doing things to ourselves that are at least 1 billion, and in your case, 30 trillion times worse than you think it is. So then the question becomes, is that enough incentive to make you rethink what oils you're using and what you're using oils for? Now, not only do we have that in the oil, they also got pesticides in the oil. I didn't know that. And part of the reason why they heat it to high temperature is to blow off half the pesticides, but the other half stays in. So they're not starting with organically grown seeds. So you got pesticides in the oil. That's bad too. Then you don't use 1 tablespoon. Most people use 2 to 4. And then we throw them in the frying pan. So you got to multiply that number, that big number, by another 3 to 6 times. And then you do it for 30 years. So you got to multiply that number by another 10,000 times, because that's the number of days in 30 years. And at the end of that, you get cancer or something. And you say, I don't know what's going on. I always ate good, because you didn't know, because nobody ever told you how much damage is done to these most sensitive of our nutrients.
So you moved into being pulled to understand this information, and the wake-up call of the pesticide poisoning really opened your eyes to this. As you stepped into learning more about the oils, how did it start to fulfill your purpose in life?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, so I learned all this stuff. I found out then this year after I got poisoned, it was established that omega-3 is essential for health, just like omega-6, by that same definition. And that 99% of the population doesn't get enough for optimum health, and that every cell needs them, and that they're a nightmare to work with, because they're 5 times more sensitive than the omega-6s to damage by light, oxygen, heat. And I got so excited. I said, oh my God, if we could, one of the things I should say before that, when I figured out how much damage is done to oils, the thought came to me, I can't get healthy on oils like this. We should really make oils with health in mind, not with shelf life, but with health in mind. And so then I found out about omega-3s, and I had already begun to try and figure out, how do you make oils with health in mind? Well, you have to build a very tight system that no light, no oxygen, no high temperature gets to the oil while it's being pressed and filtered and settled and filled. And you got to put it in glass, because plastic leaches into oil. It's another problem. And you got to put a box around it, because light will go through glass and light damages oils. So you got to put a box around it. So I had done all that. Then when I found omega-3s are essential and hardly anybody gets enough. Oh my God, if we could make oils with health in mind, and I was already working on that, and we could bring this back into the diet of people, oh my God, we could help almost everybody. And there's just something in human beings like that right about here, where when you can do something that helps people with quality of life, it feels really good. And then the rest of it, I had no business background. I had enthusiasm to the roof. And the whole thing was driven on enthusiasm, and we set really clear standards, because I knew what the issues were. I had a good science background. knew what the issues were, insisted on setting those standards, did not deviate from those standards. If people wanted to work with us, they had to adhere to our standards. And there were people who didn't want to refrigerate distributors who didn't want to refrigerate the oil in their establishment. So we did a very short interview. Hi, do you have refrigeration? If they said yes, I'd pass them on to the guy who did the business deals. And they said no. My second question was, are you willing to bring it in? If they said yes, I said, let us know when you have it. And if they said no, I would say this is a good time to end the interview. We would not do business with people who weren't willing to treat the oil the way we knew it needed to be treated. And it was fun, and like there was this buzz, and we created a buzz in 2 years. Flax oil was the second highest selling oil in the health industry, in the natural foods industry, in 2 years. And just because omega-3s and flax oil and the juice we had, and we were in a van without air conditioning, 101 days, 85 cities, 35 states, 17,000 miles by road. In the hottest months, no air conditioning. I was sleeping on the floor of the van, and my driver had built a bunker across the back. And every few days we'd get completely sticky and sweaty. We would walk into a Marriott hotel like we owned it, and we would go to where the workout room was and the showers were, and we'd take our clothes and wash them in the shower, take our showers and go pack back into our van and keep going. We literally worked all day and drove all night. I don't remember a single time that I felt like this was work.
Definitely a man living on purpose. And
so inspired. Yeah, and it was really, for me, it was like, holy smokes, I just found something worth doing. I just found a purpose for my life. And I thought about it quite a bit, but I never figured it out.
mm-hmm.
And you know what? I don't think you figure out purpose. You need to find your foundation,
Mm-hmm.
because the purpose is already embedded in your
It's
foundation.
there, yes, it's already there for sure. And I want to kind of step back into what we discussed earlier and what you shared earlier, because when I love the fact that you say that the purpose is embedded in the foundation, because
Yeah.
I think it was 6 years old. You knew why you were here. You were here all about peace. And for us as humans, what we don't understand is we do have to take care of this temple to live our purpose. We have to be healthy, so we're in that higher vibration.
Well, I would say, yeah, you have to take care of the temple. That's one part, but you have to climb into the temple too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you can't, because mostly where our focus is outside or in our head. Well, what about the rest of this temple? Because in the core of that temple is an all-encompassing peace. The access to that is in the core of our being, and that peace goes from that core all the way out to infinity. It's not limited by the limits of the body. And then that peace is surrounded by, on the next level, unconditional, empowering flow of love. And that love is solar energy that's filtered through through space and then the atmosphere and then to plants, and activates electrons, forms bonds, stored in those bonds, make molecules. You eat the molecules as food. In your cells, those are broken down. The solar energy is released. Now we call it life. Now it's life energy. So we are actually solar energy gadgets. And not only that, but if you actually discover that your heart aches, which is your heart calling your focus to come back home inside where it was when you were in your mother's womb, but then it drifted out into the world. That's what they say, you gained the world and lost your soul, right? And then the disconnection from the focus from inside is where heartache begins. So you have the heartache, it's calling you home. Most of the time we try to figure it out on the outside and it doesn't work. And then we get something, you think, oh yeah, when I succeed in this, oh, I'll feel okay again. And then you succeed and you get 3 days of, yeah, I did it. And this thing is back. And I felt that when I was 17, I remember feeling it all the time, every day, couldn't shake it. And it wasn't until I was 30 that I figured out what I needed to do with it. And in the meantime, I had gotten into a Christian story, trying to understand what the master said. And I didn't want somebody to explain it to me. I wanted to read it for myself. So I got the red letter edition, and everything Jesus says is in red ink and everything else is in black ink. So I wanted the goods, right? So I read it, put it to the test, took some risks, had some amazing experiences. I went to a beach on the west coast of Vancouver Island. So all logs on the beach. Somebody had draped plastic over some logs, and there was like this little dwelling there. There was nobody else there except me. And I went into this place, and I lay down, fell asleep. In the middle of the night, woke bolt upright, and there was this being made of light, standing on a cloud of light, embodying a message. No labels, no words. But I could put words to what this being embodied. And the words are, I am come not to judge, but to love. I am come not to judge, but to love. Oh, there's the essential message of Jesus. There's the essential message of all the masters. Because they understood something, because they had a stillness practice that took them inside to where we all were when we were in our mother's womb, right? And where the yogis try to go when they sit down in their quiet meditations, right? To get reconnected to our own wholeness. We don't have to be fixed. We just need to bring our focus back.
Believe it or not, we're getting a little close on time here for the podcast. So let me ask you this. What is the guidance that you want to share with the audience to help them get back inside?
Well, I think the first thing is heartache, whether it's triggered by the end of a relationship or a betrayal or somebody dies or whatever it is. Whenever your heart aches, that's not, the trigger doesn't cause that. The cause is your natural disconnection from yourself, which is part of every body's life journey. So I would say that's important to understand. The second is that what you're looking for out there in all of your accomplishments is already waiting for you to rediscover and reconnect to in here. So the thing you're looking for, you already have. And so then the third one is you need to make time to sit still and get out of your thinking, because that's the only thing that gets in the way of you living your divineness. And you need to, maybe you could follow your breathing. Maybe you can just like try to look into your head and find the light there, because there's light in your head. You can't unscrew the light bulb, but there's light there. Or listen to the sound of silence and to take time to immerse.
Each and every one of us is truly a miracle, and love and peace is what we're here for. And I want to thank you so much for being the example of that and sharing the message, because it needs to be shared with all ages. So I truly appreciate it. Udo, how can people get in touch with you, learn a little bit more about what you're doing?
Okay, so if we're talking about oils, and I also work with digestion, enzymes, probiotics, greens, stuff like that, udoschoice.com, UDOS choice.com. And then the other one, more this stuff that we've been talking about, theudo.com, THEUDO.com. And that's a work in progress. I'm still figuring out how to do this. 9/11 was my wake-up call to realize that we need to talk about this inner stuff, because it's our disconnection from the wholeness that we are that has led us to do all the destructive things that we've done. And we won't fix that until we get reconnected to ourselves, because then we begin to live different into the world. Because then it's not take. Then it's like, oh my God, I feel so taken care of. The only thing left to do in my life is to help where I can.
I would challenge everyone to take some time to be quiet, like Udo suggested to us, and just think about what he shared today and the understanding that we can tap into this unlimited divine knowledge in the universe and live from a place of finding ourselves first, unconditionally loving ourselves first, so we can be the example for the world and others, because it is time for this world to come together as one.
And 8 billion people could all live like that.
Udo, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you for following your purpose and helping us have healthy bodies, but also to open our minds to what our heart has been trying to tell us all along. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that you do this.
On behalf of the entire team here at Imagine Miracles, we want to wish each and every one of you a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleyou.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 Mind Awakening Steps Toward Your Unique Purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleyou.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.